I think we can bring in our next guest now, who has joined us in the studio. Graeme Godfrey is, well, do you know what, Graeme, it's fascinating here because I've got everyone who is a guest on Men's Radio Station.
Yeah.
We get given a brief sheet, okay, as we call in the trade. I'm holding up a brief sheet now to anyone on Facebook who doesn't know what I'm talking about. And in a nutshell, what that does, it has all of our show notes on it. So it tells us everything we need to know about the guests, what they're coming in and what they're talking about. And it includes their names and their titles.
Yeah.
Your name, Graeme Godfrey, fine. Your title, passionate about business. Care to elaborate? What is it you do?
Passionate about business. Well, this was born from.
I do know that you're a coach.
I'm a coach. Some people would label me a life coach or a business coach, but it's evolved into many different hats. I suppose the reason it was called Passionate About Business was that I've been in business for 35 years, mainly in the insurance business, but.
So can we establish passionate about business is the name of your company? Is that right?
It's the name of it's the name of what I do. It's almost like a brand, but is it everything that I do? No. The reason I called it Passionate About Business was that I realised that after being in business for 20 years or so, I was sort of chasing the money. I was always sort of chasing the money. Sort of did okay, supported my family, did things here and there, worked really, really hard. That's what I was taught to do. Work really hard, and you'll get what you want. And when you've got maybe a nice house and a couple of cars and you can go on holiday, you'll be happy.
Keep up with the goldsmiths. Sort of thing.
And I got to that stage, and I just thought, I'm not happy. Who told me I was going to be happy when that was going to happen? And I just wasn't really happy with what I was doing. I loved what I was doing, and I loved the relationships with the clients, which I've still got now. But there were just parts of it that I just didn't like anymore. So
it's fair to say that money can't buy you happiness. You're one of maybe potentially.
No, I don't believe that. I think money can buy you happiness.
I've always said, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. I've always said money can't buy you happiness, but I am more than prepared to be miserable finding that out.
Yeah, it's not really about the money. The money needs to be created. Money is a byproduct of everything that we do, and people chase the money, and they chase all the things that they want. But I decided it was when I started in business, it was in 1989, 1990. We were in a deep recession. Interest rates were at 15%. Imagine a mortgage now at 15%. It would kill everybody. And property price. I bought a flat and it halved in value in a year, and we had negative equity. So it was tough then. And I was a commission only in those days, so it was tough. Anyway, 20 years later, after being in business and having my own companies, etc., I realised that I wasn't happy and I wasn't doing what I love. But it's this terrible thing where you're married, you've got kids, you've got responsibilities, you've got bills, all sorts of things, and we make excuses to ourselves. Well, I got all this stuff, I'm just have to keep going.
So I was saying to Dr. Tony just before that there's a very simple yet effective rule that we have on Men's Radio Station, where we ask questions that others wouldn't dream of asking, but you're under no obligation to answer them. Would you say that by being married, having responsibilities, having a family, would you say that you felt trapped in that situation?
No, I felt trapped in myself because I wasn't being truthful to myself, and I hadn't been for years. And I was more worried about everybody else, especially my family and my kids, but I was more worried about everybody else's opinions. But I had this epiphany moment. I'll tell you a funny story later about lampposts. But I had this epiphany moment where I suddenly decided that there's no more excuses. I just want to do what I love. I'm going to do what I love. I am going to do what I love. So I decided that I couldn't just stop what I was doing, and I had responsibilities to clients. So I allowed that situation to end in a good way, so everybody was looked after and there was no problems. And I decided I wanted to go into a part of the insurance industry that I love the most, which happened to be medical insurance. And everything that I'd learnt in the past, all the mistakes I'd made, all the failures I'd had, all the fun, all the stuff that goes on, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I took an office in this lovely serviced office building, and they didn't have any offices that I could afford. Plus didn't have a lot of money then. It was 2008, it was recession again. I sort of knew what it was like. So I found a little cheese slice in the corner. They said, well, no one takes that office, we're going to just stick all the rubbish in there. I said, I'll have that one, please. So I took that office.
Very high opinion of yourself, clearly.
Well, I took that office, a desk, phone, computer. I had 2 clients, my mum and my wife's mum, and I bought a photocopier that could service 20 people that that took up all the room in the office, because I thought one day I might have 20 people. To cut a very long story short, I worked, I did 7 days a week, 5:30 in the morning until 10:30 at night for 2 years, and then I did that for another 3. But I loved it. I loved what I was doing with a passion. It wasn't light work. And the people that I was dealing with and the things that I was doing, it was just, I could have done it 24 hours a day if I didn't need any sleep, because I loved it.
You see, Tony, this sounds very much along the lines of what you're talking about whether or not are you here yet. So you actually established what you want to establish in life.
Absolutely. No, he's definitely a prime example of that. Doing something for what you love to do, not because of the result necessarily that everyone says that we need to have.
Yeah. But believe me, I'm a realist. It was tough. It was very, very tough. And when I had my office, the first office, and they said, we got to pay 3 months up front, I said, well, is there another way? So, you have to sort of find ways of doing things. But to cut a very long story short, I built the business into a fabulous business. I had amazing staff that helped me do what I wanted to do. And I sold it 5.5 years later and secured myself financially and took a year off. I hadn't really had longer than 2 weeks off. And even if I had 2 weeks off, I was never off in my head. I was in my... everything was going on in my head all the time anyway, so I never had any time off really.